Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and this is Tuesday. It's April 28th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and really interesting day. This is what I would call a reversal day. We started trading down this big sell-off we had yesterday, you can see, and this was kind of like the last little capitulation of that, and then we reversed and traded up. Um, we really traded up most of the day after that. So pretty interesting day. Really good sell off here and a good chance to make some money on a sell off, and then um, really good chance to make some money on the way up. And the most daring one I have is right here. But if you can recognize what's happening here and you're willing to take a chance on that entry right there, um, you can ride every bit of this up because any runners would be safe here. And I'll talk about that one. But that is a perfect measured move basically from here to here. And this looked like it was going to be a range day, but it went right on through. And okay, I had a slight interruption. But yeah, if you catch this, you can ride this all the way up. And this was a great reversal. This was a strong reversal. And, it's pretty obvious when you just go straight through the EMA and you don't even really come back and test it until you're, way up here. So interesting day. You see, we did get a little bit of resistance right here around the top of the trading range, but we pushed on through that, came back and tested again, and we closed basically a tick or two from the high of the day. I mean, that's a huge move from the 2089 area to the 2110 area, so 20 something point move. Actually, that's a 30-point move, I guess, almost. So that's not quite 30 points, but it's 20 plus points. That's the way, basically. You can do the math probably quicker than me, obviously. But let me show you a couple of things. We had what looked like a possible two-tiered channel working down, and I believe it was valid. We had a little overshoot, and a lot of times that's what will happen. You get an overshoot. Um, you don't get a retest. It just, it's kind of a capitulation of a move, and you can see how strong that was down, and then it reversed. And there's actually pretty close to a measured move. If it's not exact measured move, there's leg one, and then there's leg two, and it's an exact. You can see it's basically an exact. Let me get it exactly right. I mean, that's a perfect to the tick measured move. It doesn't get any better than that. And then it reverses. And your clues are that, it just kind of shoots right through the EMA. It pulls, you could say it pulled back a little bit, but it really doesn't even get a correction. When it does, it still doesn't get back to the EMA. It just keeps going higher, and it has to get all the way to here before it even gets close. It really doesn't touch the EMA till way up here. So that's a good sign you got a strong trend. There's a bigger two-tiered pattern here, the darker blue, but you really don't need it until this one trade here. Um, Otherwise, you don't really need it. It doesn't really help a whole lot. So I'm going to remove it, or just at least move it. Let's just remove it. Um, we'll save that one so when we get to that last trade, you can see how it came back into play and kind of gave you that trade there. But for the most part, you don't need that. You got this steeper two-tiered channel, and you got your overshoot here. That usually tells you something, probably going to get a break and a correction or something, and it actually even shoots higher than that and pulls back. So it just kind of shows you how strong today. But you only really needed this channel. There was a shorter term, so there's some shorter term moves in here as well. But really, all you needed was this two-tiered channel working up, and it pretty much gave you what you needed. And then I looked at this one as a spike in a channel here. Um, the downtrend really started here, but it kind of shot down and then went into this real tight channel, and then we got the reversal. Once you got the measured move, but I was playing it more of a range and kind of playing it up and down in between the ranges. But when we went through here, you look for that measured move, and we got it exactly to the tick here, and that reverses. So that's a good sign. And that makes this worth thinking about taking this, because on a range day you can buy or sell. It was mostly selling early on because the bias was mostly down. But and it was tempting to go long here, but there was just too much overlap. We hadn't had a real correction yet. We're right back at where it's support, which could become resistance. So I felt it was better off to wait, and then you get the failed second entry short, and then you go long. Um, so that's the way I was looking at it. It was tempting to go long here, but again, I think it's real risky because you got this trend line, and you can see it's still coming into play, even though prices end up shooting through it. Uh, if you entered here or here, you still had a runner going, or you should have had one going. So, and you could ride that thing all the way to here, or if you really want to tough it out, just keep holding on until you start to get a trend in the other direction. And that wouldn't have, you didn't get a lower high until right here. And that's where you might have considered exiting if you didn't exit uh, one of these other places. So, and also I didn't show it, but I would look at this as your first move. And then so from there to there, there's your target. And guess where we got to today? Right to that target, went a few ticks further. So that would help maybe keep you in that trade a little bit longer as well. So if you had some runners going. Okay, well, let's back out a little more, talk about the trades, and we'll get this day through, wrap this day up. But we were trending down. I usually don't start showing trades till 7. That's about when I come in. But the first trade I saw was right here, a long opportunity. But notice what's happened here. You're working up, you get a first entry short, you pull back, you get a measured leg up and a second entry short, and it fails and goes higher. So just go long right there. And it actually pulled back. This one could have fooled you. Notice the trend line. There's no close outside. This is the first break, and then it pushes on up. And at that point, you're looking for the high to maybe be up here a little further. We didn't quite get there on this push, and we kind of ran out of steam, and it sold off again. But that was a nice. It's not a quick, trade, but it's a failed second entry short in a market that went, that's back above the EMA and looks like a range day. So you figure we're going to test these highs, so I liked it. Hopefully you didn't get shaken out of that one. And you might have used a limit order here, which would have gotten you out before we even got to the high. And based on the way this bar looks, I think that's the smart move, and that's the way I would have played that with a limit order. But you could have just gone long when it broke lower and went out the upside. You could have just had to stop there. It worked either way, although you had to ride this out a little bit if you entered on a stop. And then we just kind of got hung up here. It looks very similar to yesterday. It was tempting to go short here, but it's too much of a, the bar closed in the middle or stem on each side. So just wait, and then you get a failed second entry long, a double test of this high. Each time we came up, it made a little lower high. So I like that one for the short. That was a good move. And it comes back and it tests it again. And guess what? This is kind of what a reversal looks like. It makes a big move that goes lower than any of the others, comes up and makes a lower high. But it tests that high one more time and turns down. It's a real small bar, even though I would put my stop above here because that's really the high of that swing. So even though this is your signal bar, the small one, but it didn't matter. This one just took off. And you probably got runners out of this. And, you could ride this one all the way to here. And if you hung on to it until you got a break of this channel, you basically ride it all the way to here or all the way to the measured move down here. So this was a really good setup here. For whatever reason, I don't have that bar straight across there. But real nice setup. And then this is this was really a breakout pullback short, but this was just a pullback to test the EMA, and it's also a little, notice how it went one tick lower. That's kind of a classic breakout pullback. And you figure prices are coming here at a minimum. You don't know that they're going to keep going like this, but and if this is if this channel is right that we've got here, um, then there's a good chance we come way down here. And if you're looking at the range and you get a measured move, it's going to come all the way down to here. So there's a couple different things to be aware of and looking at there. Um, I even considered that maybe this was the low of the range and there was some other midpoint in here, but it just really didn't play out that way. It turns out this was probably more of the two-tiered, and we just had an overshoot here, and that generally leads to a reversal. And so that's how I looked at it in the end. Really, if you just played the shorter term stuff, you were good. You were good to go. But yeah, breakout pullback short, and then you get a failed second entry long here, and it's another breakout pullback short. Even though it's got a little bit of green, that could have easily closed either up or down. That's a reversal type bar. It's a breakout pullback short. It's right off what looks like a possible spiking channel. You really don't have the channel in place until you get this swing. But once that bar closed, I would have been paying close attention to that. And another place to go. But definitely a breakout pullback short, and you're thinking prices are going to come down here or maybe all the way down a measured move based off of this right here, which was way down here somewhere. It was actually much further than that down here. But that just didn't come into play. I believe this to be the correct way. It was obvious what the trend line was, but the question was is where is the other side of the channel? And I believe it ended up here, and we just had an overshoot. So, but anyway, I like that short. You get a couple other pullbacks here, but I just think they're really getting risky down here. We've been away from the EMA for quite a while. There's not very good setup bars. You might have considered this one, but this one I think where you were really looking for trouble. But once it starts going lower here, there's a good chance we're going to make that measured move. So, you might could draw this one green, but you just don't have a very good setup bar. You got this bar, but it's so big, and we've been away from it's just too risky thinking it'll come back to the EMA. So I think you just got to skip them two. I really do. I think you're better off to go long here than you would be to go short off of those two. And the main reason I mean, this is really aggressive, but this is the kind of place where sometimes it's worth taking a risk to catch a move like this. And the main reason I like this one is because it's so far away from the EMA for so long, but that measured move from one side of the channel measured channel move, you can see that it's basically a perfect measured move. And so this is a reversal type bar. It didn't close exactly on its high, but it was similar to this bar. It could have easily ticked either way at that last tick. And the odds are you're going to probably snap back to this EMA, to the EMA here at some point quickly. And that thing just keeps going. And then again, it was tempting to go long there, but notice there's 1, 2, 3, 4 overlapping bars, a lot of stems, a doji in there. I think you're better off to wait. And at first I thought, well, maybe that was a mistake, but it pulls back and gives you that failed second entry short. There's still a lot of overlap, but that trap makes it okay. It went lower first, and I like just having to stop there and letting it go, or either letting it break above and putting a limit order in there somewhere. But sometimes you'll miss these trades if you fool around and try to play limit orders and try to get too conservative. So you got to pick and choose your opportunities for that. And getting back inside and testing that support also made it look, it made it very likely that we were going to go higher there. Because look how it hesitated, then it got above and it pulled back and tested it. And it really pulled back, tested it once, and then it went higher and pulled back again, and then it tested it one more time and went higher. So it tested it a couple of times, and if you went to a smaller chart, you'd probably see some swings up and down there, but you can't see it on this level. But this thing just takes off. And then again here, I was really hesitant because of this, but at this point, it's really looking like a two-tiered trading range kind of day. So I still want to circle that one green. I just think you can't hardly ignore the fact that this is a very strong move, and this is close enough to the EMA, and it's looking like this may be a spike in channel, but in the end, it turns out to be a little two-tiered trading range, and this is just a midline. But at that point, I would have been playing this off those swings right there, thinking maybe it's a spike in channel. That's what I was looking at first. But you had to draw your other line down here just in case, and of course it does bounce there. But nice, turns out to shoot right on up there, and it actually finds some resistance and then pushes through. And then at this point, you got to be really thinking range day, even though this has been really strong, but look how far away we are from the EMA. Look at that big reversal bar. What happens most of the time when prices break through uh, strong resistance on a range? Prices snap back, and you figure prices are probably going to come back to the EMA at a minimum. So I like this. I drew it green because this is a big move up, but this is really all the clues right at this point are looking like this is a trading range day. But then you get the failed second entry short here. Notice that new high. First entry, pull back. There's a second entry. It fails. This is acting somewhat as support here. And so I like that for another long, thinking would it at least go up and make a new high. Pulls back. But now you got to wait on a second entry. You get one here, but there's not a very good a good signal bar because that's just too bearish. And it looks like it's going to fail. It's tempting to almost take a short there, but everything is still above the EMA, and it's moved too far back to take a short. Now, if you're going to take the short, you had to take it really here and maybe here, but I think it's too dangerous. I think you're better off to wait and see, and then it fails and goes higher. So of course you want to go long with that because that's a second entry long. Pull back first entry, pull back second entry. And quick easy scalp, then it pulls back, and then you get another failed second entry short, but it's right off of where a measured move is. So now you get to thinking, hey, this is probably a midline, and look at that reversal bar, it closes on its high. Just go long right there, and off it goes. And then it just kind of gets hung up, and we start down, but I don't see any reason to go short because you're still looking for a retest of the high. And then you get your little trap right here. And it's right back along kind of where we've been finding some support across there. Let's move this line so it makes it a little easier to see. You can see prices have been bouncing along the last few times right at that area. And and then suddenly it takes off. You get that little two legs, it's kind of two pushes down that fail. And so I like that one for a long, and that really got you into the 2 o'clock hour. There wasn't anything much after that. There's no setup here. There is a failed second entry short here, but that's almost 230, and you see it would have failed before it went higher. So just wasn't really anything else. So in the end, I'll characterize this as a range day that we kind of got outside the range a little bit, but this is a big, strong reversal off of the lows of this day. So it's almost like a reversal day too. We'll see if it continues on tomorrow or in the overnight. Wouldn't surprise me to see prices try to make another run back up to test the very high, that new high we made the other day. It was 21 something another up there, 21.19 or so. It's not far away right there. So we're pretty close to testing that again. So wouldn't surprise me to see prices test that again. But anyway, that's about it for today. Nothing else much you can say about today. I kind of hashed it all out there early on. But in the end, this is just a trading range, a two-tiered trading range. The prices broke above, and Notice that we tried to go lower than that, just like we couldn't get above that earlier. Now we can't seem to get below it, so prices go higher. And you could also say it's kind of a reversal type day, a reversal morning, because it was selling off strongly, only to reverse. And but that's what happens. Seems like every time we have a big sell off, once prices find a value that everybody thinks is a deal, the market will rally strongly. And this today was no different. So traders perceive this as a good buy down here. I mean, we went right through that 2100 pretty quickly to 2088 and then took it all right back, and most of it all back in one day from what we sold off yesterday for the most part. So we're not quite back to that high yet. We like a few points. So we'll see if we can test that again, or if it may sell off and come back down again. We'll just have to see. But good trading day. This might have thrown people, but it didn't take very long to realize. If you didn't see this pretty quickly, when prices are selling off that strongly and they go right through the EMA and can't even come back and test it, that's telling you something. So hopefully you recognize that and realize this is a pretty strong move up. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap it up for today. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.